All right, well, we'll go ahead and start the work session tonight, and we have a discussion item. The first one, we have two actually. The first one is work session to discuss a text amendment to existing zoning ordinance Article 3, non-conforming uses and structures, Section 3-6.31, lots not meeting minimum lot frontage and lot area requirements in residential district. And also, let me introduce to y'all, I should have done this before I read that, Kevin Brennan is joining us tonight at the work session in the meeting. And Kevin, we're glad to have you. He has been on planning a little while back and will help bring, I think, a good deal of experience to our group. All right, and I guess now the first item, who is going to discuss that? Wiley?
I can discuss
Are
that.
you going to sort
lean
of
on Karen a little bit?
give us a little bit?
Basically, I think the important things to bring out here is that the amendment that takes care of ability to waive setbacks has already been done. That was done several years back. What we're doing here with this change is that we're just extending the same sort of dispensation that we have for R1 and R2 properties to RS properties. And you know, one of the main differences is that RS has a greater side yard setback as R1 or R2 properties. So we're just trying to make that conforming. And really, it's a building code driven thing. It's not really a zoning code driven change. It's a building code driven change. I mean, that's the general bare bones of it. If we need to discuss it anymore, we certainly can. But that's right, Karen?
Materials.
Mm-hmm.
So everything is going to be 10 feet, is that?
Any non-conforming property across the three single-family zoning up to 10 feet from as close as 10 feet from the property line, and we've already approved that ordinance. All we're looking at tonight is to RS zoning district consistent with R1 and R2 as far as when we require.
And you excluded the windows? Did I read that? The window?
Yes, that was another item while we were doing this. Building official recommended that. The building permit does kick in at 5 feet, which if they went within 5 feet of a property line, they would definitely. At that time, it would kick in the requirement for all fire.
And Karen, if I understand right, this was an attempt back in 2012. We were getting so many applications into the Board of Zoning Appeals that, you know, really from a zoning standpoint or a planning standpoint, if you're approving variances, then that means you need to change your code. I mean, you know, if you're approving that many exceptions, you need to change the code to reflect that. So that's what, long before I was here, but that's all was done in 2012.
And Karen, when I had spoken with you earlier today, you mentioned that, was it a fire official who actually came to you and initiated this request?
When we were thinking about this ordinance change back then, we were thinking of worst case scenarios. Possibly on a non-conforming, undeveloped lot built within 10 feet of a property line, there could be a house right on. So we wanted to look at it from a safety standpoint, just in case. That's never happened, but, you know, just to be on the, you know, on the safe side, they thought that it would be higher rated materials.
And I'm sorry, did you say that there was a fire official who brought up, let's get them all the same, the R1, R2, and RS? The same? Was that, or was that purely?
No, that was, yeah. The fire rated materials originally with this code change, with the building official and the fire department, they got on board with this and they discussed what they thought would be the just because of some repeated requests from RS zoning district from the setbacks because of the nonconformity of the lot. We started to realize that they're really, if they are 19 feet from the side property lines, they got to put in fire. Where in the other two zoning districts, just by right, they can be 15 feet with no special material. So it seemed fair across the board, since we're doing this as a safety thing, not really as a zoning thing, to make them.
Well, I would say it not only makes sense, I think it's fair.
Yes.
I don't think it makes it a whole lot easier for the city to regulate that. If we're consistent across the zones, I think that we probably ought to aim for more consistency as we go through these sorts of things. I think it makes a lot of sense to be consistent, so I think it's a good idea.
Right, so then, and if it's anybody else that has anything they want to say, but otherwise, y'all are going to initiate an amendment on this for the April 2019 meeting.
That is correct.
I agree.
I think we have
Here.
Here, yeah, I think so. We can move on then to work session. We need to discuss a text amendment to existing zoning ordinance, Appendix A, Section 1-3, definitions.
Yes, Madam Chairperson, we had a nice discussion, I thought, at the last Planning Commission meeting about a possible breaking out of definitions between a financial institution and a financial service establishment or financial service center. In the wake of our discussion last month, which again brought up a lot of nuances, we've decided to go back to the definition of financial institution and just try to make it clearer. When we talk about retail offices of banks, savings and loans, and other financial service institutions, well, let me get my proper change, I'm sorry. Really, we just pointed out in here that it does not include payday loans, title loans, or money lending established with a pawn shop type establishment or similar use. That's all we've done. We've tried to put that out. And I will have you know, just for your information, I think it was in the staff report, we had a recent inquiry on this, and we did give that opinion to them as well. And I haven't heard anything back, so I guess that's okay. But I thought it was a good thing to make our ordinance a little more clear about that, because we can probably anticipate that question coming down the pike again.
Once again, I would say that I like this a whole lot. I had difficulty with the second
It's a lot simpler.
proposal last time. I thought about it a lot. No, I can't say I spent a lot of time thinking about it, but I thought about it a lot between meetings. I just can't come up with a good way to say the word, so I think you really you hit the nail on that. When I read this, I said, yeah, that's what it needs to do.
Yeah, just boil it down.
And I guess, I'm not really suggesting it, but I guess we really don't need to put in there that such things as the payday loans and all would have to have a conditional use permit, since we already recognize that if it's not by right, then it requires a CUP.
Right, and
Okay.
the amendment I'm taking to City Council, which I would anticipate will be okay, the Planning Commission voted for the more, I don't want to say lenient, but the more liberal interpretation of conditional uses, which would mean that if it's not a use, you can
As we
apply.
did in the tattoo shop, we basically said, because nothing in here says you can have a tattoo shop, you must have a conditional use permit. And so if I were to come in and say I want to open a pawn shop, you're basically going to say, well, maybe you can do that, but you have to have a conditional use permit to get started.
That's hit the nail right on the head.
No, I'm not going to open a pawn shop, but I just want to, that's, as long as that's how we're
Theoretical.
looking at it, that's fine by me.
So something I would like to add too, so that the Virginia State, the Corporation Commission regulates check cashers, consumer finance companies, which I wasn't sure about what that was. That's basically if you need a loan, but you can't get one through a traditional bank, they call it a consumer finance company.
Yep.
Money transmitters, motor vehicle title lenders, and payday lenders. So they all require licenses. So it could be something that we could say, those who have licenses in these categories or pawn shops.
I think if you look real carefully in the code, you'll find there is a section in the state code that talks specifically about pawn shops.
They do, yeah.
And they have to be approved by the circuit court, and they have a maximum amount of interest and all that. So it's already covered in the code.
But as part of any kind of application for that
Oh, I agree,
lease, we would
yeah.
want to make sure that,
I agree.
Emmett pointed out, we'd want to make sure they've got
I say,
everything they need.
I like it that way because I didn't want to exclude them. I don't know anything about pawn shops, but if you watch TV once in a while, there's two over in the Virginia Beach, Chesapeake area that advertise. They look like pretty nice places. I don't think they're pawn shops. I think they are secondhand jewelry stores.
No, they're
But they use, well,
They are pawn
I've never been in them. I can just tell you what I see on the TV.
To me, the difference is, are they lending money for goods?
Yeah.
There are pawn shops that are more retail oriented, and they would be covered under our retail
Oh, I mean,
stores definition.
We have consignment shop. I think we still have a consignment shop in Poquoson. We
Consignment.
did, and that basically is,
Yeah, it's
turning things for money?
Yeah,
It's retail.
I think it's more retail than it is
It's more
money
retail,
lending, yeah.
I just said that they look half decent to me on TV, and I've
Right.
never been there, not planning to go. But I think the wording is fine.
Obviously, we would ask for, the nature of, you mentioned pawn shops, and it is true, they can kind of go both ways. We'd want to know the nature of what kind of business they're running. If there's any money lending involved at all, then, they need.
Yeah, looks good. On that, we're going to be also seeing that in April.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
so
See
we
that
can
in
look
April.
forward to those two things, two amendment proposals. All right, so we. Us,
Ready for the regular meeting?
we did fine. We're ready.
Who got y'all here too early?
Yeah. That's okay.
Time is fair.
That's okay. I'm glad it was. Oh, man.
That's tricky.
No.
Then we can get this PowerPoint logged in.
It already is.
Oh, okay, that's right, yeah. Okay, good deal.
I have to turn the screen on though.
These planning commission sessions.
Actual meeting. Well, you know.